Hi, welcome to another Interstellar Prime update video. So, pick up where we left off from the last video where we just landed to the Martian city, and now we are in the train station after we landed from the shuttle. So this is kind of a transition and kind of give you an idea of the scale of the game and kind of like the concept of where the direction of the development will be in terms of the realism and like the immersiveness of the game. So as you can see here, it's still empty. There's not a lot of NPC, but we do have some NPCs inside this train. So they're just passengers. We just kind of use a rough, crude model that we quickly put it in there just for a placeholder. So here we are in full scale. We are traveling from that port city. We name it Musk City after Elon Musk. If it's legal to do that, I'll keep it that name, but if it's not, I might have to change the name. So I don't know how Elon Musk feels about that and having his name in a video game reference like that. I don't know how legal stuff work, but anyway, if we're okay, we'll keep it that way. But for now, we'll call it the Musk City. And now we're traveling from that port city, which is where you travel between the surface and the orbit. So now we're getting into the industrial part of the planet. This is where the water is generated. This is where a lot of people work and live, and this is where a lot of your mission is going to be. And this is also connecting to the large tunnel network inside Mars that you can explore in the full release, and that will hopefully we have a snippet of that in the early access that's coming in this December. So here we are. We are in Copernicus. This is a city that's like mentioned before, where you can get a lot of missions, and I kind of aim this to be similar to Fallout 4 gameplay, where you just kind of walk around and get missions. So the plane just left there, the train just left there. But yes, you can actually travel to different cities through trains, and I plan on to have like a free roam mode as well in this game, where you can just go out into the Martian wilderness if you can purchase correct spacesuit, a combat spacesuit, and also the vehicle that you will need in order to survive in the Martian environment, unpressurized Martian environment, if I may add. And here we go. This is the underground city with the artificial sky, artificial light, and all that stuff, and it still needs to be populated with NPCs. So I'm gonna go ahead and walk around here a little bit, just kind of show you around real quick what we have so far. So these little tunnels are not completed, but this is where you can actually go out to an unconstructed part of the tunnels, which is pretty much old lava tubes inside Mars that you can explore in the game, that you can go in and kind of like do missions, fight enemies, do discoveries, find artifacts to uncover more of the game, and so on. And here we are at the residential area. This is where people live, and you can eventually buy an apartment here, and you can actually kind of have an apartment and upgrade it and so on, just kind of like in Fallout. And this is one of the water plants or chemical plants in the game, which I will have that later on fully developed for where you come in here and then you kind of talk to the manager. Oh. Which, by the way, that what you just saw there, the gravity it's accurate to Mars right now. It's like a third or something from Earth, but that's why what you saw there when I kind of drop from the stairs and it kind of slowly falls. And that kind of brings another topic of this game. We're going to try to have that gravity aspect into the game. Like if you're on the moon, you'll be using the moon gravity, unless you're using the G compensator that covered in the previous video of you know, your suit kind of push you down towards the asteroid, since there's no gravity, or very little gravity. Anyway, this is under construction. This is part of the full story mode. You go in there and you put in a special suit, and then you help with some missions to expand the city. And then there's some like kind of like raiders type problem going on, where you have this pirate type of group that are just kind of rogue on its own and go and around, cause trouble and rob, you know, develop cities. So that's just kind of part of the story that's to come. Anyway, here we are, Millennium Inn. This is if you don't have a house or an apartment purchased in the residential area, this is where you can come. In the first part of the game, if you may, in the full story mode, not so much in the sandbox that you would really need this, but in the full release, you're gonna have to come in and stay in this hotel in order to you know, just so that you don't have to, because in the game you will need to sleep and all that stuff. I'll get into that later on, but as you can see here, you can talk to the NPC, some of them, and you can kind of mess around here a little bit and, you know, kind of talk to the person. So anyway, let's get out of here and move on with the rest of the game. So in the full release, you can actually go out here and go to a different shop and then buy different gears, like weapons, armor that's approved for Mars, and also eventually a vehicle that you can go out in those wilderness and then explore. So that's the plan here. And here we are in the hotel. As mentioned earlier, you're gonna need to sleep. Really, that's where you save your game, but also you're gonna need, there's gonna be a health meter and nutrients, radiation. There's going to be a survival aspect to this game as well, that you have to kind of consider. So this is kind of like the detail example of the detail we want to put into this game. It's kind of show it to you that, yeah, we want to make this game as immersive as it can be. And now you can sleep and save the game and refresh, and there's a view of the city, of the Musk City that we just took the train from. And in order to go back to space, of course, you have to buy a ticket and then get into the shuttle and get back to Remnant City, where your main ship is docked. But at all times, you can actually communicate to your crew back in the Serendipity, and you can actually get their help and support and all that stuff. And then eventually in the wilderness part of the game, which is, you know, you have to buy a command truck, if you will, that you kind of have to live off of, but that's going to be really expensive. So you have to do a lot of missions and gather a lot of resources in order to be able to afford that. But once you have it, the gameplay, like covered last year's video game in our earlier conceptual video, I think that we had, or earlier update videos, I kind of showed you how you can actually have RTS mode in the planetary mission. So there will be that. The game is all about gaining territory, and yeah, you kind of get the idea. So anyway, here we are. I'm gonna end the video right here. It's been 10 minutes. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next video. I'll cover more on the in-depth of the Remnant City and how you can walk around in there, and then more things you can do, more things you can build, and the things that you're going to be able to do in the early access mode that's coming out this December. So stay tuned. Thanks. Bye-bye. Hi, welcome to another Interstellar Prime update video. Today we're going to be covering the Remnant City. After we travel from one orbit to another, one of the destinations that you can go in the game is the Remnant City. The Remnant City is placed in the game from the gameplay perspective as a kind of transition between space gameplay and into the planetary gameplay, which is kind of like where you would play like in Fallout. You walk around in a first person RPG mode, and then you do missions. There's no flying spacecraft or anything like that, but there will still be an RTS mode down in the planetary missions. So here real quick, just kind of showing you that everything is in full scale, and let's take a look at what the city is like, or what I have in mind for the development of this game. So here we are. We docked at the station, and I'm going to take the tram here to get to the rest of the Remnant city. And the game is still under construction as we know it, and this is kind of an empty space right now, an empty vacant space station that's still needs to be filled with the NPC. And you can go to the Remnant City entrance and take the tram to the actual wards, pretty much the city strip that you see down there that's rotating. So, and what this city is essentially a place where people live and work in space. And in the middle of the city there's a little squirrel cage where the artificial gravity is being produced by spinning the wheel, and those strips that you see there is actually buildings, and people live down there. So hopefully by next video, if not the following video, I guess. So we'll try to get some content to populate there in the game, so you can actually go in and interact, walk around inside the city, and kind of give you an idea of what the full release is going to be like. So the early access won't have any missions, won't have any quests, major ones anyway, but the full release will have a full story mode there that you can play. But this is kind of gives you an idea of the world that we're creating, setting up the stage for what the full game will be like. And that's just all depends on how much we can raise through Kickstarter and through early access. And this is just kind of give you a quick tour, a grand tour of the space station. Even though it's empty, but it kind of gives you an idea of the scale of the game and the detail, the level of detail that I would like to put into the game. So hopefully we'll be able to hire more 3D artists and character artists that could help us populate this universe with colorful characters and deliver a full experience. So what we have right now is we have a transport system that kind of based off of current technology, which is before we have warp drive. So we don't actually fly our spaceship into the planet, if you may, because that takes a lot of energy, takes a lot of wear and tear on your craft. So this is kind of like the next best thing, is that you can go back and forth between the planetary surface and the in the orbital space by having a transport system like this. So think space shuttle, and this is kind of inspired by what SpaceX is doing with the BFR and the BFS. If you follow SpaceX, this is kind of like an inspiration of that. So, or inspired by that. And this is kind of like a quick cinematic representation of what transition between two types of gameplay would be like in the game. So you have the aerospace or in-space type gameplay where you fly the ships around, you fight off enemy in three-dimensional kind of flying space with the RTS mode. And now we're back into more of a ground-based game RPG type, like in Fallout. So here we are. We landed, and I'm going to show you around. But I'm going to keep this video short, and I'm going to make another video that go in more details on what is the Martian surface mission looks like. So, or how the development on that is so far. So here we are. I'm going to get off of here and then travel to the train station. I'll see you next video. Thanks.